How do you improve your relationship with food? Let's go over some bullet points today of some things that you can do and take home with you to actually work on improving your relationship with food. Number one is give yourself permission to eat all foods. Now, this statement often gets misconstrued because people take it and it thinks that means I'm telling them to go eat donuts all day, which is not what I'm saying. But I'm telling you that you do have permission to eat donuts. The reason that I like to point that out and specify that is because oftentimes with rigid thinking around food, we've created these rules that like, oh, I'm not allowed to eat that. Or if I do have a donut, I can only have this quarter of it. And then for lunch, I have to have a salad. And then, as you can see, it spirals, right? So you have to first give yourself permission to eat food. It is okay if right now you go and eat 2 donuts or 3 donuts, whatever. You do not have to make up for that or punish yourself later because of that choice. So see the difference there? It's just giving yourself permission to have those foods. Number 2 is try to honor your hunger. Now, first and foremost, you may actually need to learn what your hunger cue is. Sometimes I ask people like, oh, well, how do you know when you're hungry? What do you feel? And to be honest, it's a hard sensation to try to explain. Some people feel the kind of stereotypical rumbling in their stomach, but other people don't ever get that sensation, even when their hunger cues are appropriate. So you may have to learn what your hunger is. But once you figure that out, which takes practice of just kind of trying to listen to your body, actually honor that. So when you feel hungry, eat something. Now, I know that sounds a little bit basic, but as I'm sure you've experienced in our society, people will say like, oh, well, maybe you're just thirsty or you just ate an hour ago. You're probably not actually hungry, little things like that. But instead, you really should honor that hunger. So if you are truly hungry, you feel that sensation, don't convince yourself to just go drink water. Go get a snack or something, or if it's a mealtime, have your meal. Number 3 is be mindful when you eat. Now, what I mean by that is actually paying attention to what you're eating. Pay attention to the flavor, the texture, the smell, all of the different things about meals. Far too often we find ourselves eating while we're watching TV or eating in our cars or whatever it is, and then you're not eating mindfully. So you're not really honoring that meal or honoring what that meal is doing for your body. And that's important because when you start to remember that food is fuel and food is actually nourishing your body, it is easier to allow yourself to eat all of these foods or give you that unconditional permission to eat the foods. Now, number 4 is try to work on not punishing yourself around food. So I kind of touched on this in number 1, but what you don't need to do is beat yourself up for eating a particular food. You don't have to tell yourself that, oh, well, because I ate this, I now can't eat this, or it's so bad that I ate this, I'm not going to eat tomorrow, or things like that. You don't need to punish yourself. Your body is going to use those nutrients for whatever it needs that day, and that's great. And you can move on and eat your next meal or eat whatever it is that comes next. You really got to work on changing that thought process to not punish yourself for your food choices. Now, number 5 is kind of similar to this, is not creating that all or nothing mentality, or at least trying to give yourself more flexibility with the all or nothing mentality. And what I mean by that is a lot of times I hear from people, they're like, oh, well, for lunch, I was supposed to eat what I brought, but turns out my friends wanted to go get this. And so I ended up having Chinese food. And so the whole day was shot. So after that, I had ice cream and I had cake and I had this, and then we had this for dinner. Whatever, you see what I mean? It's like kind of this idea that, oh, just because you ate one thing that maybe didn't fit with your plan, the whole rest of the day is shot. That's not true. Just because lunch maybe didn't go how you initially planned it, that's okay. You had Chinese food for lunch, you carry on and you have your snack later and you have dinner or whatever it might be. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. On the flip side, it doesn't have to be that you have, Greek yogurt for breakfast, salad for lunch, and chicken and rice for dinner, right? It doesn't have to be a perfect day either. It can go both ways. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. That's what's great about having flexibility around food. Now, number 6, and this one's hard to do, but try to not compare your plate of food to somebody else's. Now, your nutrition needs are going to be different from the person next to you. So it doesn't matter what they're eating. It doesn't matter if they're eating less than you, more than you, something completely different from you. That doesn't matter. You need to focus on what your body needs. So really try to not compare what other people are eating to what you're eating. Now, number 7 is, and this one sounds a little bit silly when you say it, and I know it's a lot easier said than done, but it's okay to enjoy food. you shouldn't let food ruin your social life. And what I mean by that is, so, a lot of times this rigid thinking or the relationship with food gets harmed because of this, right? Is you feel like you're not allowed to enjoy food, or you feel like if you enjoy food too much, you're going to overindulge or whatever it might be. But that's not true. Food is meant to be enjoyable. Food is meant to be social. A lot of times we gather around food, which is great. So you're allowed to enjoy food, and you're also allowed to just have food because it is in a social situation. And so you should be able to go out and eat with friends and enjoy your social life, even if food is involved or it's taking away from what your original plan was. Now, the last thing I'm going to say is not so much about food, but a little bit. It's more about exercise. And so how you treat exercise can also help improve your relationship to food. Exercise should not be a punishment. You shouldn't be going to work out because you have to do X, Y, and Z, or you're mad that you ate this, so you have to exercise to burn it off. Exercise should be enjoyable. It's a great form of movement. It's good for cardiovascular health. It's good for a lot of different reasons, including improving bone density. I mean, I could list forever, but those should be your goals, that you do movement that you actually like. Even if that's not a run just because your friend goes on runs, it could be something totally different, but movement should be what you like. And the reason that ties into food is because when you actually do movement that you enjoy, it takes away again from that punishment mentality, and it doesn't connect food and exercise as much. So overarching theme here is those two things, when you separate them, helps to better improve your relationship with food and exercise. So these are all things that I think are really important to try and implement your day-to-day. Now, again, a lot of these are a lot easier said than done, but if you keep working on it, it takes work, you can get there. These are the kinds of things that you need to practice at every single meal, not just once a day, but at every single meal to really work on improving your relationship with food. And if you feel like you need help, feel free to reach out to us and or a therapist. We definitely recommend therapy in situations like this. They can help work on your relationship with food as well. Give us a like or subscribe down at the bottom. We would love to hear your comments on this or other things that you think as it pertains to relationships with food and how we can help with that.